American Top 40.
At number 19 is the song Human, the current hit by the English group Human League. Lead singer Phil Oakey says that when he joined the group in Sheffield, England back in 1977, he wasn't a musician or a singer. Phil was a porter in an English hospital, and he got into the group because he told them that he liked their music. He says that was the only reason they hired me. At first, I tried playing synthesizer, but after a couple of weeks, it was obvious I was never going to be able to play it properly. So I became the singer. End of quote. Today, Phil Oakey is the only member left from those early days of the Human League. The current lineup is at number 19, up 10 notches with Human.
American Top 40.
Now for the new number one song in America and the story of the one-note audition. The story of how two teenage girls joined one of England's most popular bands of the 80s, the Human League. Back in 1977, the Human League formed as a four-man band. But in 1980, two members left, leaving singer Phil Oakey and musician Adrian Wright. The two men decided to form a new and a different Human League. And one of the things they wanted for the group were dancers who could also do background singing. One night, Phil Oakey was in a nightclub where he noticed two girls, customers, dancing like nobody else in the place. He struck up a conversation. The girls' names were Joanne Catherall and Susan Sully. Phil asked them if they wanted to join a group. They were interested. He took them to the studio where the band rehearsed. Inside, he played a single note on a synthesizer and he told each girl to sing the note. Each girl repeated the one note and Phil said, "Okay, you're in." That was it. One note and they were hired. But the girls were only 17 years old. Their parents didn't want them in any group. So Phil and his partner Adrian spoke with the girls' families and convinced them that everything was legitimate. Their parents were totally satisfied. It was all in the up and up. And that's exactly where the Human League's career went. Up, up, up. 6 years later, they're a top British group. And those two one-note auditioning girls, Joanne Catherall and Susan Sully, are part of it. The new number one song in the land is by the Human League. Their song, Human.
American Top 10.
Well, now we're up to an American Top 10 Extra by the Human League, a band that wanted to hire a particular singer. The problem was, he loved to disappear. It was back in 1977. Computer programmers Martin Ware and Ian Marsh came up with the idea of a band built around the synthesizer. But they wanted a human voice as well, and they knew just who that voice should be. You see, Martin Ware had gone to school with a singer named Philip Oakey. Martin says, unfortunately, he was famous for disappearing. He'd get bored and would hit the road for months. When we tried to find him, he wasn't anywhere. Luckily, Martin knew where the singer was supposed to live. He started putting notes on Philip's door asking him to call. Martin says, quote, "I stuck dozens of notes on the door. It looked like a quilt. When he finally came back from wherever he'd been, he couldn't miss those notes. And like the notes on the door, Philip decided to stick around long enough to sing for the Human League. And he's still with them today. With an extra, here's Phil and the Human League with Don't You Want Me?"
You were working as a waitress in a cocktail bar when I met you. Don't you want me? You know I can't believe it when I hear that you won't see me.
American Top 20.
I'm Casey Kasem. Now, we're up to an American Top 20 Extra by the all-synthesizer band The Human League, an instrument one of their leaders bought because he didn't have enough money to buy a car. It was back in the mid-'70s. English musician Martin Ware was a struggling guitar player whose career was going nowhere. And his love life was no better. He says on one particular gloomy day, he was walking around his hometown of Sheffield with his friend Philip Oakey. They stopped in front of a music store, and in the window was an inexpensive synthesizer called a Minikorg 700S. Martin had been thinking about buying a car to cheer himself up, but since he didn't have enough money for a car, he bought the synthesizer instead, and he found it was a lot easier to play than a guitar. Martin and Philip built a whole band around synthesizers, and though it took a while, they were eventually hailed as pioneers of a new sound. A sound they found because Martin Ware was feeling down. Now, with an extra, Human League with a smash from 1986. Here's Human.
Kasem.